On the night of July 22, 1991, a police cruiser was flagged down on a street in Milwaukee by a man in handcuffs, running, asking officers to remove the cuffs still locked around one of his wrists. His name was Tracy Edwards. What he told police that night ended one of the most prolific killing sprees in American history, one that had gone undetected for 13 years. Edwards explained that he'd met a man earlier that evening who invited him back to his apartment, seemingly friendly at first. Inside, the mood shifted. The man became controlling, then threatening, producing a knife and handcuffing Edwards, talking in a way Edwards described as increasingly strange and unsettling. Edwards later said the apartment had an overwhelming, foul odor he couldn't place, and that photographs on the walls showed dismembered bodies, which the man had shown him almost casually, as though testing his reaction. Edwards realized, correctly, that his life depended on staying calm. He spent the next several hours talking his way into the man's trust, eventually convincing him to lower his guard long enough to strike him and run for the door. When officers returned to the apartment with Edwards to investigate his story, they found the residence exactly as described. Photographs on the walls, an overwhelming smell, and inside, evidence of a crime scale so extensive that experienced officers, arriving expecting a routine domestic disturbance call, described being unprepared for what they discovered. The man who owned the apartment was Jeffrey Dahmer, and Tracy Edwards became the reason his 13-year killing spree finally ended that night. What makes this case especially difficult to sit with isn't just how it ended, it's how close it came to ending 3 years earlier, and didn't. In 1991, months before Edwards' escape, a 14-year-old boy named Konerak Sinthasomphone was found by bystanders, disoriented and bleeding, wandering naked outside Dahmer's apartment building. Police were called. When officers arrived, Dahmer met them and calmly explained the boy was his adult boyfriend, simply intoxicated after an argument. Despite witnesses on scene insisting the boy appeared to be a frightened child, not an adult, and despite visible injuries, officers ultimately returned the teenager to Dahmer's apartment and left. Dahmer killed him shortly afterward. It would later come out that a body already inside the apartment that night, feet away from where officers stood, went undiscovered. That failure became one of the most scrutinized law enforcement decisions in the case's aftermath, prompting a Justice Department review and years of public reckoning over how the responding officers had assessed the situation and why a frightened teenager's own account was dismissed. When Tracy Edwards was finally believed months later, investigators searching Dahmer's apartment recovered evidence connecting him to 17 murders committed between 1978 and 1991. Dahmer confessed in detail during questioning, cooperating extensively with investigators once caught, which allowed authorities to close cases that otherwise might never have been solved, and to identify victims whose families had been searching for answers for years. Dahmer was sentenced to life in prison in 1992. He was killed by a fellow inmate in 1994. What stays with people about this case isn't only the scale of it, it's the timeline. A killing spree that could have ended 3 years earlier at that same apartment door if a 14-year-old boy's own fear had been enough to change what happened next. Instead, it took one man's escape and his own composure under the worst circumstances imaginable to finally close the door on it. If cases where the ending almost happened years earlier stay with you, subscribe for more true crime told through the moments that mattered most. And if you have thoughts on how a case like this changed policy afterward, drop them in the comments. I read every one.